Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the T.H.O. Movie Reviews podcast, the show where we bring you passionate, honest, and insightful film criticism. I'm your host, Bennett Campbell Ferguson. I'm here today at Rose City Coffee Co., Brooklyn Park in Portland, Oregon. And I'm going to review Justice League with the help of some of my wonderful colleagues, starting with Shaunette. Mo, you have your fidget spinner, you have coffee. How are you?
Wearing a hat.
I'm wearing a hat. I'm recovering from a flu right now, but I'm okay. I'm eager to get into this one. I have some thoughts. I got some things to say.
Excellent. We need you in trim fighting form to take on this behemoth.
If you need me trim, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Also here we have Hanna McGrath. Hanna, I know you took a poll of who liked this movie. Can you give us an update?
So far on my poll, I just checked, but 100% of my Instagram followers did not like the movie. So we are still at 100% as not a fan.
I get the feeling then that maybe people don't like it or something. I don't want to read into the data too much, but just, I don't know, I'm feeling that.
Yeah, maybe.
And also here we have Maxwell Meyers, who just saw the movie. He's basking in the glow of Justice League.
Things can glow. That doesn't mean you like them. I would say, I watched it, and Warner Brothers really has a hit on their hands with Wonder Woman. Good times there.
I like where you went with that.
Thank you.
I agree. That's about the only hit they have in this whole thing. But it's time to delve into Justice League. As I said before we started recording, it's Judgment Day for Justice League. And I just have to ask you all one question. When, and by the way, we're going to do spoilers because honestly, there's nothing to spoil. So,
I mean, was there really that much surprising information in Justice League?
I know, yeah. But my question is, so in the scene where Superman gets resurrected and goes all berserk and Hulk-like, did anyone else want Batman to just calm him down by saying, Martha?
It doesn't work in reverse.
But wouldn't isn't that the trigger word? Don't you just say Martha in this comic book universe and immediately everyone just chills and
No. You bring in Lois and that opens a whole other Freudian can of worms, man.
I was just a little confused at that scene because when it starts out, you're just like, oh, he's lost it. He's not the same. But then he remembers everything. I was like, does he? I
think you're assuming it makes sense.
I know. I have weird dreams of that movie should make some sense. Well, for some existential shit, but I don't think we were there.
The fact that I love that you just jumped into that scene because I think that scene is a really good summary of kind of what doesn't work in the entire movie.
It is the worst part of the movie.
Yeah, and the fact
garbage,
that the mother box just falls and they all just leave it behind.
See, that's how bad a villain Steppenwolf is. They literally forgot he was a threat for 10 minutes.
See, I actually liked Steppenwolf.
Oh,
no. Okay, how about this?
Whoa,
come on. Can you at least
do fighting words?
Okay, I'm sorry. How about this? I liked Steppenwolf the best compared to who we've been given. A not-so-present Joker. Whoever it was in Batman vs. Superman.
It was Lex.
Okay, my point still stands. I don't know. I was entertained while watching Steppenwolf, and I didn't say what the fuck as many times as I did with some others, like Gary Oldman in his weird muscular body.
I had to say what the fuck every time he was like, mother, like mother, it was so weird. And he was kept talking to this mother box and whispering weird things.
But nothing ever, there was no physical form from it. I was waiting for a person or something to come from it, but instead it just fucked shit up, but you call it mother, which also kind of made me think of Alien.
It made me think of Norman Bates. I was like, this is some
No, I see what you mean.
Weird mommy issues,
Man, am I going to be the nicest person in this movie?
No, I am.
Oh, okay, good. I was like...
See, I actually had fun with this movie. There was a lot of it that I think that I liked, that I thought was fun, that was entertaining. That was what's DC has been desperately missing from their movies.
Some fun.
That having been said, I cannot possibly defend this movie. It is broken to the core. The foundation is crumbling. It's held together with masking tape and bubble gum.
Well, let's get to the heart of the matter. I mean, this is a movie that, as you said, it is held together with masking tape. It was started with one director. It was finished by another. It was
finished and
finished,
redone.
Yeah, I was
yes,
gonna say
finished and
polished.
redone. So let's starting with you, Mo. Let's get to the heart of this. This was directed by Zack Snyder. It was finished by Joss Whedon. Is this a Whedon film? Is this a Snyder film? Or is this some weird zombified merging of the two that doesn't really belong in either category?
It is both, and that's the problem. Because it's wildly different in tone. Because you have a bits where Steppenwolf is murdering hostages in really not seen visually, but really gruesome, bones are being crunched and people are have getting their necks broken and stuff. And then we cut to the Flash saying some jokey joke, and it's how am I supposed to feel at this moment? What is emotion here?
What are we going for?
Yeah. You do get the sense that this is mostly a Whedon picture because you can tell the reshoots because you can see Henry Cavill's mustache-less face and how uncanny it all looks. It feels like a mishmash of both of them, and it does not work because of that.
And what about you? What do you think?
I think there's two problems.
Only two?
Well, about this question.
In this category.
I like that we can say that there's two problems to a single question, and that's just scratching the surface.
That's our review right there.
I also agree that I think it's actually a Whedon movie, and I think that they would never say that. I think that they've really said that this is Zack Snyder, and he didn't do very much, and that's very noble or whatever of them. But I think it is probably more of a Whedon movie, but I think the problem is this. One, you have two directors that have completely different visions, like Mo talked about. But the next step is the mass amounts of reshoots after the success of Wonder Woman. So not only do you have two completely different directors, you have these people who didn't give Patty Jenkins a shot and didn't think Wonder Woman would be the success that it was, coming in and being like, how do we give Wonder Woman a story? And piecing that in between, the way it's taped together just by the directors themselves. I think that was... They should have put their stock in Wonder Woman in the first place, but I think that made it even more fractured of a film.
No, you're absolutely right, and I would argue that I love Gal Gadot. Who doesn't love Gal Gadot at this point? But the Wonder Woman,
I think.
Well, there you go.
Whoa.
But the Wonder Woman parts of this movie are some of the worst parts, in my opinion, because the story is she was sad after Steve Trevor dies.
Oh my God.
She went away,
70
and then
years.
Batman needed to cheer up. It's that's so insulting to everything the character went through in Jenkins's Wonder Woman movie, and it's just someone in Entertainment Weekly wrote, "It feels like no one who made this movie even saw Wonder Woman," and I have to agree.
I very much agree with that. I thought it was disrespectful and sacrilegious to Wonder Woman. I will just go there. Gal Gadot was so amazing and so incredible, and in this movie, it was so fake. It wasn't even like Ben Affleck, kind of like Batman. It was literally just Ben Affleck being like, where were you? You should have done this. Let's just kind of argue, have no chemistry on screen. And I don't think that most of these scenes with Wonder Woman were even in Zack Snyder's. Is Zack Snyder? I'm going blank.
Yeah,
Yes.
Zack Snyder.
I think this was just added later on because she was so popular. And it's she was badass. And you guys should have seen it before this. And I'm sorry, you suck.
Yeah. No, the writing was on the wall. Of all these characters, of the Holy Trinity, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, the only one that hadn't been done to death was Wonder Woman. So,
the only one that people liked was Wonder Woman.
Yeah. But Max, what about you? Is this more Whedon-esque, more Snyder-esque, or Snyder-Whedon-esque?
I mean, it kind of felt like a Zack Snyder ice cream with Joss Whedon ripple, and then like chunks of Warner Brother opinion thrown in. Like that's how, because like the movie.
That sounds so hard to eat.
It wasn't a
swallow that. That sounds
again. It was
lumpy
like
and
like the
awful
flavors
and-
could be good, but you'd think maybe they'll work together, but then they don't. You know, I don't know. When the movie starts out, it feels like a Snyder film. There's a lot of slow motion action over music.
Just that opening montage of like the world without Superman. It's very Watchmen-esque.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
the
so
opening
that's. I
credits
mean, maybe that's my key. Maybe I can see more. I don't know how much Zack Snyder movies you watch. I've apparently watched almost all of them without my notes.
Even the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
Oh my god.
I did see the Legend. I did see
really-
Guardians of the Ga'Hoole. I didn't.
I think that makes you like one of like 2 people. In the
But
world.
see, this is
that's an achievement of sorts.
Well, this is the weird part. Is I've never once was like, I'm gonna watch Zack Snyder movies. I'm more like, I want to see that movie, and then I see it, and either after the fact or I'm like, oh, I guess it's Zack Snyder. I guess I saw it. It felt a lot like Zack Snyder's vision, but the problem is that it's just as Hanna said, it's interjecting the Whedon-esque into it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I also felt like I feel like, this is gonna sound weird. I don't know how to phrase this right. It should work. Like Ezra Miller plays the Flash, who, like when I watch the trailers, I'm like, the way he reacts, I was like, oh, that's like he almost feels like the everyday superhero in a way, like that. I've never been in battle. Now you want me to go into there where a guy just snapped a woman's neck? Why? Just because she didn't answer the question. I was like, that should be us, but for some reason, none of those jokes landed, and I just don't think it was the environment for it. I think that was the Whedon elements were like thrown into this thing, and they didn't blend. They just kind of sat on top, and it doesn't work that way. To really bring up that scene, can we just say like the weirdest writing? It's like you got some woman who goes, I don't know, snaps her neck, drops her on the floor, picks up the janitor, and he goes, I have a family, and he goes, why does everyone keep saying that? Which I was
They
like,
used
I
that
kind of
line
like that.
in
Like,
the trailer, like they were excited about it.
but then he was, maybe I just didn't watch enough trailers. I watched like a single trailer. Like
That's the only moment of personality that character has.
yeah, but then he like, what does he do? The janitor knows nothing. He just throws him on the ground, grabs the head scientist, and doesn't take enough time to kill him. I was like, I'm confused. Why do we murder the scientist, leave the janitor alive, and then move on to the head scientist? Why not start with the head scientist and work your way down to the janitor? I don't know. Again, it's just one of those things. And same with Batman vs. Superman. I'm watching, I'm trying to get into it, and then something weird happens, and it takes me completely out of the moment.
Sure,
and then I have to work my way back in there, which was, oh, Superman's gone crazy. Wait, is he gone crazy? Or is he just mad because they brought him back to life and they won't let him sleep? I don't realize what's the problem here. Like, you guys aren't conveying it enough.
You could not read him at all, and he's a terrible actor to begin with. But on
He's
top
so pretty
of the
to look at,
CGI,
though.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. I think Henry Cavill has the capacity to be a really good Superman. I think that's he has been given a lot of bad direction.
Yeah. Henry Cavill has done good, or can do good. I think any actor...
Like, I remember watching Man of Steel, and like by the end, it's like, it's not good, but god damn, is he trying? Like, he's trying to bring in
I
some
didn't even
level
like
of-
him in that.
No.
Like I've liked
I know,
him in
you're not-
other
no,
movies, but he's so wooden. Like you remember
so wooden.
Like remember that the Justice League trailer when the whole thing with the ring, and he says, "I'll take that as a yes."
Yeah.
Like who said that line? A robot?
No.
They cut that from the movie.
I don't
think,
like to say that an actor can't act. I have seen some actors who you would never think will ever turn in a good performance, turn out some great performances, and it comes back to writing and direction.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can't always say that when a movie doesn't work, it's just the writing and the direction and the producing and the editing. I mean, actors do play a part, but when you see Adam Sandler turn in some Academy Award level roles,
Yeah.
you can't say, like, I hate to break it to you, I'm like, he didn't just get the job because he's beautiful. Like, he has to have some form of talent. I don't think he's being utilized properly. I don't think a lot of them are being utilized properly.
Well, no, I think you bring up a really good point. And I mean, if there's one thing I've learned, watching these so-called DC Extended Universe films for the past 4 years or whatever. I don't even like that term, by the way. I prefer to call
Extended
it
Universe.
the branding initiative romantically known as the DC Extended Universe. But
DC's just trying.
yeah, but I mean, it's these films can suck the life out of anyone. Even Amy Adams and Diane Lane apparently. Who are wonderful.
Amy Adams, 5-time Academy Award nominee. Amy Adams.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, I think
That's like the real problem with how they do Superman. They don't know what to do with Lois Lane.
No. But
It's
with
embarrassing.
this movie, the thing is, Man of Steel, I thought was almost physically painful to watch.
Yes,
I mean,
it was.
wasn't it? I mean, it was horrible. Batman versus Superman. I wasn't in pain watching it, but I was just phenomenally bored. Suicide Squad. I mean, that was just like inhaling, a bunch of like a big vat of sugar and like dumping it down your throat with a bunch of cotton candy. I mean, it was painful.
That sounds delicious.
Wonder Woman, of course, great. In the spectrum of these movies, I have to say I actually like Justice League, second best. 'Cause I wasn't in, physical pain watching it.
Well,
but on the other hand, that is such a low bar.
I feel like
the standards are so low.
This movie could really be summed up very well that way, because I was like, Ben Affleck's not the worst Batman, but he's definitely not in the top 3, and I think that's saying something, because we had a lot of Batmans. So I was like, and that's how I felt about most of the movie. I was like, it's not bad, but it's by no means good. Maybe my expectations were just so low. It's like, you just had to hit a bar.
Sure.
You weren't going to be as good as Wonder Woman. I knew that going into this, but I thought you could at least do better than this. And at least you're better than Suicide Squad.
So I guess I'm a little bit of like a purist with the classics and Christopher Reeves and all of that. So I cannot accept this. Like, this mediocrity is okay. Like, I just can't.
No one should accept
and I
it.
won't. I think that, you've talked about a lot, but I can't. I do think Ben Affleck's the worst Batman. I do think Henry Cavill is not talented, and I know that you don't like to say that, but when you look at Christopher Reeves and you look at Supermans that have been successful, which is really Christopher Reeves and maybe George Reeves and a few others, but it's an incredibly attractive man. Like, I think Christopher Reeves is the Audrey Hepburn of men. I think he's perfectly symmetrical. When you watch him, his eyes are gorgeous. I love it. But to find a man that is that attractive that doesn't realize it, I think what we're missing from Henry Cavill, besides a personality, is the ability to, I don't buy him ever as Clark Kent. And you're never going to be able to match a Lois.
We've never seen him as Clark Kent.
He's very rarely Clark
He's
Kent.
always either Kal-El or he's Superman, but he's never Clark.
True.
I mean, you see a few scenes, but not...
He wears glasses. That's the extent of it.
Exactly.
It's
and
like
one,
he's around.
Yeah, I think that's missing, but even just him not in his Superman costume, you don't have somebody who you believe, like Christopher Reeves was one of the most gorgeous men ever, and I believed that he was shy as Clark Kent. I believed that Lois Lane can walk all over him or boss him around.
Sure.
And that dynamic is something that we've never been able to even see with Amy Adams in this.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm trying to buy the fact that this guy who is just another score of actors right now that are pretty people edited well, and this just isn't edited well. I can't get behind it, and this wasn't even Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. This wasn't even Ben Affleck as Batman. This was Ben Affleck just tired and uncomfortable
And waiting, just staring at the exit door the whole time.
Yeah, he had one foot out the door. I don't even think I saw Bruce Wayne or Batman. I think I literally just saw Ben Affleck hanging out on set. I really do. I didn't buy it at all. I couldn't believe that this, I couldn't believe that this, people online are just shocked that this even got made. That they bought this CGI mouth, which is #supermouth right now. that this got past people is beyond me. And I guess it's me being stupid, for keep thinking that DC will get something right. But after Wonder Woman, I didn't have hope, but I was like, at least Gal Gadot will be amazing. At least I have her. And they did her dirty. And I was like, this is not okay, guys. it was painful, and no one laughed in my theater, and that was
No
the
one
other
laughed
thing.
in my. Well, actually, I did laugh at one weird line, and I think it was the line where Bruce Wayne goes, "Oh, he is big." Like he just didn't realize it until he was up close. And I think I was the only one that laughed because I think that's just my weird sense of humor. Was like that's what made me laugh.
I laughed my ass off at the Nightcrawler. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but Batman having a giant bug robot that crawls up walls, that cracks me up. It was so goddamn stupid. I loved it. That's what we were missing from the DCEU is stupid shit like that. Because that's the engine that drives superheroes. I love superheroes. I live and breathe this shit. But they are goddamn dumb. They are juvenile power fantasies. That's what they have been from the very jump. Marvel gets that. Marvel's like, no, they're action figures. We're going to give them pathos. We're going to give them emotion. We're going to make you care about them. But these are goddamn action figures. And you're going to get that. And DC, they never bought into that. It's like, no, we're going to fix him. We're going to make him mature and edgy. We're going to make Superman a big controversial figure. And Batman's going to be a drunk asshole. And it's going to be super cool and mature. And it didn't work. It failed so hard.
Well, I agree with what you're saying in part, because these are juvenile characters. But at the same,
you can't tell mature superhero stories. You're gonna go off on Christopher Nolan now, aren't you?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, James Mangold. I was listening to an interview with him.
That's another go.
And he said something I thought was kind of fascinating. The interviewer made some remark about comic book films. Or comic books being kind of juvenile, compared to comic films, and James Mangold said, actually, I think comic books are a lot more sophisticated than most comic book films, and I think that's very profound. And I agree, you're right; these are power fantasies, but I don't think there's one way to do it right. I think you can do brilliant, dark, and gritty comic book movies like The Dark Knight. I think you can do brilliant comic book movies that are more effervescent, like the first Iron Man. But the thing is, I hear things like, Batman versus Superman didn't work because it was dark. No, it didn't. It didn't work because it was badly paced. It was badly written. It had a bad story and bad acting. It's all about execution.
I would say tone has something to do with it because you can't do dark and Superman in the same movie. It falls apart.
I think you can if you show the lightness of Superman as contrast or juxtaposition, and they failed at that. I think that you can make Batman dark. I mean, that's his history's horrendous. Like, it's almost hard to make Batman.
His parents are dead.
Everyone I know dies.
No parents.
Darkness.
Continue darkness.
Yes. Thank you for that. I appreciate every single one of those. Every person at the table just did an impression of Batman. So.
Lego Batman. A very specific Batman.
Oh my gosh.
Will Arnett. One of the better Batmans.
Better than Ben
One of
Affleck.
the top 4 Batmans.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I think, where was I going with this? I think you can take on headier subjects in comic book films. I don't want to say that there's not a place for that, but I think you have to set that up. I think what works is with Marvel is you start with Iron Man. Iron Man is kind of about that moral dilemma, finding out that you're an arms dealer. That's what you do. Oh wait, it's not just the good guys who have the guns, it's the bad guys. And how do you balance that with also creating this war machine? That's really, in that, and how do you be a superhero? How do you be a good guy? But what we're dealing with is really just Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Character development. And then as the movies grow larger and larger in scale, we do get to ask the questions later in Spider-Man Homecoming, which is, we had an alien invasion. How does this affect scrappers? How does this affect modern crime with all this stuff lying around New York? You can take these questions on because we've now spent almost 10 years building these questions. You can't just jump in and go, alien invasions, what does this mean now? I wouldn't even know how to begin to answer that, without discussing my life first. So I don't know. I think they can be taken on. But again, this is Warner Brothers constantly trying to do more to close this gap. And they don't know how to do it, so they just take really giant, broad strokes. They find out this works, maybe if we do this, and then they go, no, not like that.
I see what you mean, but I also...
It's a bunch of trial and error.
I don't really think of it in terms of Warner Brothers necessarily, just as, Marvel, well, what I'm trying to say is, it's all about who's telling the story. I've been thinking about the question lately, am I a Marvel person or a DC person? And I suppose technically I'm a Marvel person. I don't read that many DC comics. I grew up reading tons of Marvel comics. I used to buy a bunch of them every month. But I've realized like company doesn't matter. It's all about who is telling the story. I remember a period of time where it was a fad to say, Superman's an alien, Batman is an aloof billionaire, but Spider-Man is a real guy from Queens, and I get that. But then it's like you see Batman Begins, and I don't know, that Gotham feels a lot like New York or Chicago to me, and feels relatable. And so I think it's a little strangely
grounded for a fantasy comic book world.
And this was why, and I know I'm probably going to be in the minority here, but this is why I'm sick of the cinematic universe stuff, because it forces this idea of an overarching vision, from film to film, and it's like it should be more taken on a film by film basis and say, in terms of like, no, let's get someone like Patty Jenkins to tell a great story, as opposed to, let's have a house style. Let's have someone like Snyder as the overlord, of this universe, which isn't going to be happening much longer.
I think it's too much handling. I really feel like Warner Brothers puts too much handling this. I also this weekend saw Thor Ragnarok for the first time. By the way, just go see Thor Ragnarok. Don't see Justice League. If you've already seen Thor Ragnarok, just see that again. Because the person I went with was immediately all for it. I want to see it again. Anyways, but with Taika Waititi, they had the screenplay, and somebody asked him how much of the script is improvised, and he said about 80%.
Wow.
He goes, I spent a lot of time next to the camera shouting out lines for my actors to say. I go, say this. Now say this now, but say it like this. He goes, and that's how they did it. And he goes, it was surprising. He goes, I thought at any moment we were going to be reined in by Marvel, but Marvel is really just we have this plan, hit these points. But other than that, do what you want. They even told him, he goes, an exact line, I think he said a quote from Kevin Feige was, get in the sandbox, throw things around, see what works. And most of that movie doesn't feel like I'm building towards anything. It just feels like a story.
To be honest, I hated Thor Ragnarok. It left me so cold. But at the same time, I agree with the exact idea you're putting across, which is that this has got to be taken on not just a movie by movie basis, but a scene by scene basis.
Well, and a director by director, a cast by cast. Yeah, what makes Wonder Woman work as well as it does is probably someone going, tell the Wonder Woman story, not tell the Wonder Woman story that has to connect to this part, and I think it works better. See that that whole thing, the beginning and ending of Wonder Woman, the Wayne Enterprises truck, whatever, that's nothing. That means nothing. It doesn't force the movie to bend to this thing. And it's the exact opposite of Justice League. Setting up Darkseid, setting up Aquaman. Setting up the Injustice League with Deathstroke, and does Joe Manganiello even want to do this after this? I don't think so. That's just the wrong approach.
It smacks of this year saw another cinematic universe try and fall flat on its face with The Mummy and Universal's Dark Universe.
And I have a lot to say about this.
It's actually it's basically dead with almost no pulse.
Yeah, and the thing is, it feels... I can't speak to what happened with the Dark Universe. I was not behind the scenes, but it felt like their goal was to lead with names, not with stories. Mm-hmm. And I know that's presumptuous. I know I'm the audience. I don't know everything about what's going on, but it was just we're going to do this well-known property with a famous actor in it. And that was how they moved things forward. And it was dead in the crib. It never got the chance to breathe, because it was just we're going to have Tom Cruise and we're going to have Russell Crowe. It's are you going to have a story? I'm going to say this real quick. I'm going to finish this on. That's what it smacks of with setting up the Injustice League, because it's we got Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke. He's a known actor and he's good and people like him. So let's say that's a thing that's going to happen. That's why that feels more than anything why they've tried to get a Shazam movie off the ground, because they got The Rock as Black Adam. It's
Who
decent
doesn't love The
casting.
Rock?
It's decent casting, but it's like, why aren't you keying into what made Shazam a lasting character? This dude has been around since 1938. His popularity eclipsed Superman at one point. The DC literally had to sue Fawcett Comics to get them to back down and sell less books. Why aren't you tapping into that? Why is it all about the stunt casting? So that's my thought on that.
No, I think that's a great point. But there's another thing I want to ask all of you about. I mean, I was very struck in this movie of how they, portrayed the non-superpower people. How they portrayed us, essentially. And I like that you're laughing already. You know where I'm going
Hanna
with this.
already
But I appreciate that in past comic book movies, whether it's having the people on the bridge at the end of the first Spider-Man, chucking stuff at the Green Goblin, or civilians playing a really crucial role in the climax of The Dark Knight, to the roles of the ordinary soldiers in the Captain America films. I mean, I appreciate how these movies don't say that us regular people should just bend down and worship these godlike figures and let them do all the work. And I look at this movie and I think about that. I look at Justice League. I think about that Russian family and how they're just totally helpless and they're basically just there for the Flash to save them. And I want to hear from all of you not only how you feel about that, but also what you think that says about how the people making the movie view us. Because there's an argument to be made with that this is what they want from us, just to kind of like cower before these badly made movies and line up and pay for them so they can sell toys. I'm just curious,
I think you put way too much. I think you put too much thought into the amount of thought that they put into us as human beings.
See, but I'm not saying that they even put thought into it. Like this could even be a subconscious thing.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is I don't think they were thinking about us at all.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. This could just be this instinct of, where it's not even a plan, but they end up, treating us like morons. Frankly,
that's what I'm saying. Is that I think. I don't think they were thinking about treating us at all. I think what they did is they go, we have this giant handful of celebrities that have to do things like J.K. Simmons. I mean, do you know how much promotional footage I saw for J.K. Simmons?
A lot.
More than I saw him in the movie.
Yes.
I saw more Instagram photos of J.K. Simmons, and I spent more time thinking about him
as just him at the gym. That wasn't in particular for Batman v Superman.
No,
it was just naturally.
But I actually saw. But that's the thing is, I saw a bunch. I saw a bunch of people talking about J.K. Simmons. Like I feel like the internet talked more about J.K. Simmons in the movie than they actually gave him screen time. And I think, like I said, the Russian family. I think we're just the means to the end. I think even Marvel. I mean, I think every once in a while they like to show that we are humans and we have the capability of standing up and be like, hello, but I don't, we're going to fight. But I don't think Warner Brothers was just they're people. They're going to cower. They're going to run. What are you going to do?
But that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly my point.
So I agree with you. I was really disheartened by that. And I think that the reason why it stood out so much, how they treated, us regular humans and how kind of helpless and useless and at the mercy of everything we were, I think it stood out so much when we had just seen Wonder Woman. And I know I keep mentioning Wonder Woman and I keep I'm not going to apologize for that because it's amazing.
Never apologize for mentioning one of the best films.
It's the bright spot in the DC universe so far. So
the entirety of this movie is predicated on the existence of other movies.
Yeah.
So if you mention those other movies, it's not really out of left field.
Exactly, but the thing is, I really think that they did not take Wonder Woman seriously, because if they had viewed it as a part of this universe in the way that they should have before its success, the point of Wonder Woman is that real human people can make a change. Like, Steve Trevor is a real person, and he kind of helps save the day. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you just looked at me confused.
No,
for a second.
no.
I was like, wait. And so
There's two Steves that were in World Wars and
Yeah.
crashed planes.
And
Sir
both of them were
Rogers.
named Chris.
well, I knew that was his name, but you looked. I didn't know if you were confused. But
No, don't worry. I'm with
okay,
you.
it's just you're putting this whole movie on how we as humans can make a change and we as humans can do the right thing and bring hope and change our world and believe in those like very powerful things that Wonder Woman stands for. And then you turn around and the next movie you churn out like we're useless and we can't do anything and we're at the whim of everything. And so it's like they want to act like this is a universe. You were talking about kind of the DC and the Marvel universes, and then I was going to say to you that I do think they were counting on Tom Cruise's star power, but he has none. Hello, Hollywood. Catch up.
Yes,
Yeah.
just not
Oh,
as
Trust
much.
me,
Not anymore.
I worked at a video store, and no matter how many weird things came out about Tom Cruise, people were still like, do you have that new Mission Impossible movie?
When was that? Because I think in the last 5 years, it's gone downhill for him.
This is the one thing
But-
I've learned about working at a video store. No matter how bad an actor gets, you won't believe how many people will still
Well-
come in and go, oh my gosh, a new Val Kilmer movie? Oh, he was so good in that one movie 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's a basis to buy a movie.
Did you
We'll
ever
see.
rent You Don't Mess with the Zohan? that
No,
one?
I saw that movie in theaters because they tricked me. We're not going to get into that movie.
Okay, because I don't want to bring up that.
We're not going to open that scab. Okay.
Sorry, continue.
No worries. I was just saying that this movie did kind of go back on everything that they had kind of set up in Wonder Woman, and it's I don't
disappointing.
know. It's disappointing, and it's also like I wouldn't feel great if those were our heroes. Like, to be honest, like middle-aged Batman, like I'm not feeling super safe. Like, they weren't the most effective, and that kind of brings up a question that I had. They weren't the most effective. The entire team seemed to only be effective when Superman was there, yet he wasn't in the majority of the movie. Like, that was a really interesting choice to have a Justice League movie with Superman barely in it, and the rest of the team kept repeatedly failing without him, and then he comes in and just immediately changes everything in the last like 5 seconds, and it's just like, yeah, I can kill anybody, I'm cool.
That is technically Superman. He's basically invincible without kryptonite.
Well, I know, but then he kind of made the rest of the team obsolete. Like, that's kind of how they built this movie, is this guy's not in it, and then he shows up and just saves the day, so who cares about the Justice
Which,
League?
by the way, do you know how long shit was going down in Russia before Superman even arrived? Like, we saw a scene with him and Amy Adams talking in a cornfield, and he's like, oh, mom's showing up, and she's like, unfortunately, you have to go, please don't die. I know how fast Superman moves. We've seen him keep up with the Flash. What took him so long? Like, how long were you fighting? Like, I know the 24-hour news cycle. He heard a car coming. He should have known. He should have got like a Twitter notification like, oh, by the way, shit's going down in Russia.
I mean, when you're just back from the dead, you're not going to check your Twitter notifications.
Yeah, that's true. He does have other things going on.
Yeah.
Mo, do you have any thoughts on the depiction of civilians in this movie?
I think you're right, and I think what it speaks to is this idea that the only way they understand these characters is as isolated. And like that was Superman's entire arc in Man of Steel, is that he doesn't relate to anyone. And so we bring in all these other characters. We bring Zod, who ends up being the bad guy. You bring in Lois Lane, who's less like a person who relates to him than just a witness to his greatness. Pa Kent dies. Ma Kent doesn't do shit.
Commissioner Gordon's in there for 3 scenes.
Was it even, or was it? I thought it was 2.
We're still talking about Man of Steel.
Oh, Man of Steel. I thought we were just listing off characters in this movie.
No, it's
human characters.
And I think that's part of the problem, is that they lead with this idea of isolation, of alienation, of these characters. If these characters are meant to be gods among men, then they don't relate to any of their supporting cast. We barely see anyone from Batman's supporting cast in Batman v Superman. Wonder Woman, they nailed it. Like you said, they did get it right. And here it's just more of the same. And they're able to relate to each other as superheroes, but they can't to ordinary people. It's Commissioner Gordon is basically a business arrangement with Batman. He's a business partner. Lois Lane is little more than an emotional support dog for Superman.
Yep.
Like every time he gets riled up, it's just, oh, bring in Lois Lane, he'll be all right. We see Flash's dad, that's kind of there, but also we went through all this drama in the first 2 seasons of The Flash, so what the fuck is the point?
Which we don't want to talk about in the movie at all, apparently. That they must somehow exist separately.
Cyborg's dad is there, but he doesn't do anything except get captured and then disappear to who gives a shit. I'm cursing a lot on this one.
There's a lot of reasons to.
I apologize for that.
In all fairness.
But I agree with what you're saying. You know, they talk about like they filmed stuff with like Kiersey Clemons as Iris West, who is the Flash's love interest. They filmed scenes with her, but those got cut. There was someone else who was
Willem Dafoe was supposed to be in it.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I can't remember who he was supposed to be.
He's in the Aquaman movie. He's Aquaman's like mentor buddy.
Chief Scientist Volko.
Yeah.
Or something.
Wow, that's
that name
quite a
makes me
title.
laugh. I know. Yeah, Chief Scientist Volko.
They're uninterested in the notion of supporting casts, and that's a problem. It speaks to a larger issue of them not seeing these characters as human, as seeing them. If you're seeing them as gods, then there's no relatability to them.
It's weird that Aquaman provides fish for this village when they can't provide for themselves, and Batman shows up and says, just so you know, the world's about to be wiped out, this village included, and he's like, why is that my problem? I was like, you just saved a single man from a sinking ship.
And then stole whiskey and why?
I don't know, it's like, yet you don't, like, it's like, you, like, I can't tell, does Aquaman like people? Does he not like people?
Yeah.
He's like, I will save you from a sinking ship, but I will not save you from an interdimensional war.
I think
Thanks.
It's this issue. They want to create characters that are standoffish, but it doesn't work.
No.
Like, ideally, like, Batman's the one that's standoffish, but now Batman's just running around and it's like, he's giving away his secret identity to everybody.
I thought about that when he like lets Aquaman call him Batman when he's unmasked in front of these villagers. I feel like it kind of reminded me of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 when you first see Peter Parker and Harry Osborn together, and it's like, hey man, it's been a long time. It's like, yeah, we're things have gotten so bad that we're just going to like randomly say, oh yeah, this working class kid's from Queens just happens to know this rich kid. When he was
Why were they going to the same school?
Yeah, it falls apart when you think about it.
Like Aquaman is standoffish until he isn't, because I guess it gets personal because they attack Atlantis. The Flash, he doesn't really have a character. Like they write him as kind of being like on the autism spectrum, but mostly he just jokes, and that's his character, and that's it. Cyborg, I actually liked Cyborg,
I
thought Cyborg was funny,
but he does.
We're united. We're united on
He was
Cyborg.
my favorite.
He actually
Cyborg.
had like a story, and Ray Fisher was actually
He has screen
present,
presence,
you
even
know?
though
Yeah,
like
gravitas,
he's
yeah.
fucking like
It means-
the ugliest CGI in the movie.
Well, he made the most, like, I don't know, there was something about, he's like, I'm trying, like, he felt very computery, like, his arc and development made sense with the movie, I guess. I don't know. It did work. I remember going, I like Cyborg.
he was the one character who had a poignant human story, which was ironic since he's a robot. I mean, or half robot.
Yeah.
But I think this is interesting, and I think a lot of really good points have been made. And for me, this brings up the question of who do superheroes represent, and who do the people they save represent? And the conclusion I always come back to is that superheroes are these godlike figures. They are extraordinary. But we have to relate to them, on some level. Superman, at his core, he's a nerdy kid from Kansas trying to find his place in the world. Captain America, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, they're all on similar journeys. And yet I still think that, we also have to relate to the people they save because, at least scientifically speaking, physically speaking, we have more in common with them. People like us, we would be, the ones in jeopardy in these kinds of situations. Because I don't know about all of you, but I can't shoot lasers out of my eyes. Sorry.
It would be just so
Only
great
when I'm drunk.
if like Batman had a character who was like like a fan of his and someone who wanted to be like him and got the chance and was younger and kind of saw him as a father figure and was able to crack jokes and kind of like counterbalance his darkness. If only there was a character that had existed like that, who had been around since the very beginning, like there was maybe 1 year in all of Batman's 75-year existence, who was there and who was always like there, like at his side to kick him into gear.
You're right. Unfortunately, we'll never know.
They should put
what would
a
that
character
even
like.
look like?
I have a vague idea.
They
where
should
you're
put a
going
character
with
like
this.
that in the movies.
Like a Michael Cera
That's not
character?
even a fucking joke. Get rid of the Flash, put Robin in the fucking movies, make him be the comic relief.
But there's I
He
think
was
that's
on
a
the
great
Super
point.
Friends. It's canon. There's precedence.
Oh, I agree.
But there's one more thing I want to say about this, which is A.O. Scott once made an argument, and I agree with it partly, and I disagree with it partly, which is that the civilians in superhero movies, they often cower. They are often helpless. They're submissive a lot of the time. And something like The Dark Knight Rises at the end, where the cops get to be heroes. That's actually pretty rare. But
Get to be.
yeah.
I mean, like they were trapped in the sewer for 3 months.
I see where you're going. Fair point. But the thing is, I think A.O. Scott, he said, this is really a metaphor for how the studio sees viewers. They want us to submit. They want us to pay for these lousy movies so they can sell toys, or words to that effect. And to a certain extent, I think actually walking back a little bit of what I said, I think what you said has merit, Max. That is kind of reading a bit too much into it. On the other hand, I think there is some truth to this, because you look at how Warner Brothers treats its consumers. It's people who are making money for it. Entertainment is not a democracy, but it is. We vote with our dollars, and we vote with our comments online and stuff like this. And after Batman versus Superman, I think we all voted pretty loudly. We voted we don't want more of this shit. We don't want Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. We don't want Ben Affleck again. We don't want all this. And what did they do? They stuck with the same director, a lot of the same actors, and regardless of the attempts to lighten it up, a lot of the same tone and a lot of the same kind of bloated alien invasion nonsense that doesn't have any human interest. And so I think there is something in this, and I think in some ways there is a pact that has been broken, which is we trust that if we voice our dissatisfaction, that they're going to listen to, because they are making this for us. And I think it's sad to see that pact broken, because it's people like us who are filling their coffers. So they do have an obligation, in my opinion.
But have we really voted with our dollars? I mean, didn't every single one of us at this table pay $10 to go see this movie? None of us.
You bite your tongue. I saw that movie for free.
Okay, Mo got to see the movie for free, but I still gave them $10. I've given these guys $10 every time they've seen a movie. At a certain point, the only way I can vote with my dollars by going, you know what? No, I'm not going to see the newest DC movie, even to review it.
I have something to confess. I haven't seen any of the previous ones in theaters, and I haven't paid for any of the previous ones.
I love it.
Which is
I
perfect. You should
only
have.
paid for this one for this podcast because I wouldn't be able to see it for free in time.
I admire that so much.
Thank you.
I don't, and I have stopped paying for a lot of Marvel movies, and I know that that's kind of touchy, but I can't continue to give money to this, and the reason why I was so willing to was Gal Gadot, and that's the only reason. And I was interested in Cyborg and the Flash, and I really did like Cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I'm
wanted
glad
to
they're
like
in
the Flash.
I wanted to like the Flash too, but it was so off.
I
Like
wanted to
every
like-
single thing was
I wanted to
off.
like The Flash, and I do, Tuesdays on the CW.
Way to plug that one, Mo.
Well, no, I feel the same way, and I want to address what you said, Max, because I think you bring
don't
up
remember what I said.
what you were saying about it's hard to vote with your dollars because I mean
I'd stay part of the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And you're absolutely right. I'm as guilty as anybody. I paid to see all the DCEU films in theaters, and I kind of I admit I wish there's a way around that. I'm part of the demographic that's helped keep this thing going to what end. At the same time, I mean these movies the ones that are really successful, that are big runaway hits, they're the ones that people go see not just one time, but 2, 3, 4 times.
Yeah.
And, Batman vs. Superman made about $800 million worldwide. That's a profit, but that's not nearly what Warner Brothers wanted. They wanted $1 billion, maybe even $2 billion. So I feel.
Who's ever once said, "I don't want $2 billion"?
Yes, exactly. So I think
I mean, $1 billion isn't cool. You know what is cool?
$2 billion. You know what's cooler than that?
Yes,
800 million.
Somewhere
Wait,
Justin
no.
Timberlake is smiling. But I think, I confess, you're right. I mean, in a way, I did vote for this. At the same time, I also think they heard the world. They had an opportunity to make course corrections that they didn't.
Oh, they did. That's part of why this is so disjointed. Like, part of the reason I was so interested to see this movie is just all the rumors of the behind the scenes stuff. Not just the change in directors, but that they started shooting like a week after Batman v Superman came out.
Yeah.
And all the reviews came out. It's like, we need to course correct midstream. Like, that's going to be terrible. I got to see how that ends up.
I've been looking forward to this movie because of that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like watching a car wreck.
So then I definitely would pay to see what might be a car wreck.
Sure.
But at this point, I'm not entirely sure that I really want to pay to see another DC movie. Like, I feel like I honestly I can't keep doing these podcasts and complaining about a movie while also still paying to see them. And other than Wonder Woman 2, which I will see, I was like,
I'm probably going to see all of them.
and don't get me wrong, I was very in love with Jason Momoa in this movie, but only because of Jason Momoa. I don't really want to see Aquaman, seeing as how fast Steppenwolf managed to take the box away from Atlantis when the Amazons put up such an amazing fight. I was like, that part where she ropes the box and then shoots the arrow right before Steppenwolf gets there, only to have some Amazon jump off of her horse, grab the arrow, hop onto another horse, and then reel it in like a fishing pole, only for it to all fail and fall apart anyways. But I was like, they seemed like they were really trying. And I was like, in Atlantis, he came in, punched 3 guys, and then knocked down Aquaman. I was like, all right, bye. He didn't even have any flying bugs to help him.
That's a really sorry fight.
I was just worried that.
And then the next time he just wanders in and grabs it.
I was just worried that they were going to kill the Amazons, because that's like.
We're all worried about it. Can't lose them.
We can't lose the good parts. Yeah. Because that feels like a throwing down the gauntlet moment. It's like, you saw how awesome the Amazons were in Wonder Woman. Well, now they're all dead because of this asshole. And it's like,
oh man,
no one wants to see that.
No.
But they couldn't succeed.
Like, part of the point is that's like, Wonder Woman can't go home again, yeah, but you still don't kill off all these characters that everybody really liked.
No.
Well, and I know it was a touching moment, so maybe this is my lack of sentimentality, but the fact that an Amazon just was under a horse and that was her sad dying moment, I was like, that doesn't seem
trust
right.
me, you're completely right. I'm watching these Amazons literally destroy a column with a giant sledgehammer, but this one got crushed by a horse, which I know.
Hold up that wall.
Yeah,
and
which I was like, I could get, maybe 2 Amazons. One Amazon probably could not hold up that wall, but you're telling me that a single Amazon couldn't push a horse off of himself? I was like, and I get it, horse accidents are bad, but kill an Amazon? Is that what it takes to kill an Amazon? Is just the horse to follow on him?
Horses are their kryptonite.
Oh, damn. Well, their one weakness, yet they ride them all. They're playing a dangerous game. Amazons on horses.
Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, I like that you brought it up, but I couldn't believe. I mean, I was a little disappointed by the Amazon that was killed by the horse, but at least they put up some kind of a fight. The Aquaman
was actually kind of cool.
underwater, the underwater fight. I was just like, you should have just handed it to him.
Well, no, then they did just hand it to him because later he just beamed down, grabbed it, and left.
That is
because they were too. It literally got
worse editing in movies. It's like,
which you didn't even see him. They just saw the beam and were like, and there it goes.
Oh no, the bad guy got the thing that can destroy the world. Darn.
Dang it.
Yeah, and then she wanted to bring up her issues with him. She was gonna fight with him, with Aquaman, and I was like, just let him go save the world. Talk about your family issues later.
You have another movie to do that in.
Come on.
James Wan is directing.
Mo, you mentioned the horrible editing. I think this is a good time to point out this movie had 3 editors: David Brenner,
Are you serious?
Richard Pearson, and Martin Walsh. Martian Walsh. Oh my God. But my point
That's a
is,
good first name.
3 chances to get it right. 3 chances.
No, that's their
Too
problem.
many cooks.
That was gonna say, was like, there's your problem right there. A movie should have one editor or a
Yes.
pair of editors who edit everything together all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah,
they are an editor.
Baxter and Anger's
Oh, I'm sorry,
Wall
like
on-
Roderick James.
Yeah.
But you know, like if you're gonna have like 2 of something, they usually work as a team. That's just you don't go, well, this one didn't work. Well, keep his work and use the next guy's work. Okay, take both of those people's work and give it to a third person. Like, what was the idea there?
It works so well in Suicide Squad.
Well, I have one final question I want to ask
Go
all
for
of you,
it.
and I can answer first if y'all need a minute to think about it. But I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Jeff Martin, who is I consider him sort of my surrogate uncle. He runs the Joy Cinema in Tigard, where I used to work, and he had a Facebook post about this movie where he was he was just bemoaning kind of this whole state of things, and he said it's a shame that TV is better than movies now. And with all due respect to Jeff, I disagree. I don't think we're living in a horrible age for cinema. I actually think we're living in a very, very great, rich, amazing, inventive age for cinema. But I think movies like this are so big and so loud and so dumb that they take up a lot of space, and they sort of create the illusion that cinematic history is no longer being made. It's kind of, when there's this much clutter, it's sometimes it's hard to realize that history is being written right now with smaller movies, whether it's Moonlight or Arrival or The Lost City of Zed or any number of films I could name. So I'm just curious for all of you, for people who have lost their faith and don't believe that movies can be about great storytelling, is there a movie you've seen this season that you feel is kind of the antidote to a movie like Justice League?
If we're talking this season, we're narrowing it down. I haven't seen anything new in a while that isn't like a blockbuster.
Well, even anything like from recent years that you've like downloaded or watched on DVD.
You know what? I in preparation of Thor Ragnarok, I went back and watched a bunch of Taika Waititi's movies. They hold up, man. Hunt for the Wilder People is lovely. It is just a really fun little movie. It's great acting. It's really well told story. I know I'm not saying anything new. This is the highest grossing film in New Zealand because Lord of the Rings doesn't count for whatever reason. But it's stuff like that. Again, I haven't seen a lot recently, so I can't.
New Zealanders are so loyal to each other.
Yeah. I can't speak of anything else in particular that's coming to mind. Otherwise, I would just go back and say Get Out again. But
Sure.
No, Get Out was excellent.
Yeah, I've talked enough about that movie.
Well, and by the way, I finally saw Get Out, and I'm looking. It's so good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it with all of you when we do our year-end edition. But I know what I want to say. The Hunt for the Wilder People was the best-selling movie at the Laurelhurst Theater the previous year. So, who says great art doesn't make a splash commercially? Hanna, what about you? Anything you've seen that you feel is the anti-JLA?
Get Out definitely came to mind. I would say that recently, I guess I would go with Loving Vincent.
Oh yeah.
I could do a whole nother podcast on the things that weren't perfect about it. There was some things structurally that I didn't love, but I think it's a beautiful movie, and I'm fascinated with the way we reinvent cinema and the way we're able to reinvent films, and the fact that this is like the first hand-painted movie of all time is incredible. And the visuals and the dialogue, there's moments in this movie that it hasn't really made a huge splash, and so I can't even find the quotes that I am still thinking about online yet, because there's quotes that have stuck with me that were just incredible. And so the examination of kind of Van Gogh and mental illness and how they portrayed that visually was amazing. So though I do think TV is doing a lot of more movies, doing well where a lot of movies are failing right now.
Sure.
I would say that movie was a bright spot in kind of the bleakness of mass-produced nonsense movies that just kind of go at you and not really through you or inspire you or make you think. So, loving Vincent. Check it out.
I love that, and I think you make a...
I have a lot of questions about that after this podcast.
Okay.
I think you make a great point. I mean, any great movie, I feel like, has to look forward to a certain degree, and I mean, basically, in a way, almost inventing a whole new medium is certainly doing that. Max, what about you?
I would say if you talked to me a year ago about the state of movies, I would probably agree with your friend. Last year was kind of bleak. This year's been really refreshing and revitalizing. I mean, in a year where I can go see Captain Underpants and be really pleasantly, like, just pleased with the end product, I think it was a really good year for movies, which is why things like Justice League is real, like, you can't, it's offensive, like, that it was this bad. But, I mean, if I were to pick one, everyone's heard me talk about Colossal, and what Colossal does is what I think most movies should do, which is we got to be something more than what we, like, the base idea. Like, that's what Get Out is. Get Out is not just a horror movie. It's talking about social issues. Colossal isn't just a monster movie. It's also a discussion about abusive, controlling relationships, and also
self-destructive
behavior. Self-destructive behavior, which I've watched more than once. Beatriz at Dinner, a smaller film, which has made a really good splash, but even though I have issues with the ending, talks about something. It's not just a movie about this one thing. It has to do something more. And I think that's why TV has thrived as well. And I wouldn't say that all TV is better. We're living in a great age where there's so much good TV, which we've never had before. It's always been like, oh, you gotta have HBO to watch The Sopranos, and then there was ER. Like, you got like the 2 shows. Now we have like someone once, I think I heard a quote on NPR. It was, now for the first time ever, there's so much movies and good TV shows, you can't keep up with it all. I'm like, I would agree. I'm like, I have several shows, and thank God Hulu goes, don't forget to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I was like, oh, thanks. But I think...
And we're living in the age of streaming, so you can keep up with television.
You can, and it's...
Television listens to you.
It's, thankfully, in a weird way. But, so I think it's just... Movies have to do something different. Patty Cakes does something different. It says something more. It's not just a single idea. It has to do with other things, which, funnily enough, Justice League also tries to do, but it's not working. I mean, I feel like they're always like, we should tell a story, but everyone should be flawed. That's 2 different things, right? No, that's just the base of most movies, which is you have characters who are flawed. Ugh. So that would be my statement. I actually have 2 questions as well.
Oh, cool,
for
cool,
you guys.
Cool. Well, I'll give you my answer first. But
yes.
First, I want to say, Mo, you bring up Get Out. Max, you bring up Colossal. Another reason I'm excited for our end of the year deal is we get to talk about a lot of movies that deal with really terrifying real world problems, but in like a kind of heightened way that brings a new dimension to them. So I'm excited to delve into that. I won't spend too much time on this because I don't want to spoil it, but I got to see an early screening of Coco, and it's astounding.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
So excited for Coco.
I'm so excited.
Just wait. If you think you cried at Inside Out,
Oh, no.
just wait.
No.
And I mean,
I'm here for it, man.
You
Fuck
think
me
it's
up
gonna be?
emotionally.
I know.
Crying in public.
It's like you want it with Pixar, but I at first I thought, is this gonna be footloose for musicians, because it's like, music is bad, son, you can't play, but no, it's not that at all. It's about memory, it's about mortality, it's about growing up, it's about death and loss and familial love, and it's all about all those heady things, and it's still a fun movie with a flying green cougar.
Yes.
This is
Every
it's
movie
why you
needs
go
a
to the
flying green
movies.
cougar.
Yeah.
Listen to me, Warner Brothers.
I'm here for it, man.
Now I know you got some questions, so
I did
lay it
actually.
on us.
I thought of there was one part in Justice League that I did like, which I don't. This is so minor. Like, there was not a lot of things to like, but what I really did like was I liked a lot of the locations. I felt like everything felt big. Like the spaces they created, I actually enjoyed. I enjoyed being in the Batcave. I like the new Hall of Justice that's coming. Like I like the spaces. I felt like when we I don't know if this was a cinematographer. I think this is one element that I did like was entering into a space. I felt like I could feel the grandness of it. I felt like I was getting a sense of space. But that was all that I really felt that movie did good. Is there any part of Justice League that you thought did work, even if it wasn't executed right, or maybe it was executed right, that you did like about this movie?
Yeah,
we have spent a lot of time talking about what we hated. What did you like about this movie? And if it is nothing, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'll take this. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there were some things I did like. I'm loath to admit it because I enjoy abusing these DC films so much because it's so much fun and it's so easy.
Well, it's so easy to complain. Sometimes when you have a shining turd in front of you, it's hard to figure out what's making it shine.
I know, yeah, but you're right. There are some good things, and I mean, as we said, I like Cyborg, and just like his struggle and the fact that he was actually tormented and struggling. I thought, like that's how all those characters should be. It reminded me of great conflicted characters like Peter Parker, like Tony Stark, like Wolverine, like Wonder Woman even, and I hope they give him more to do going forward. And I'll be honest, I like that thing with Aquaman and the lasso of truth. I mean, that was good. That was. What can I say? That was pretty funny, and but more to that, it humanized this movie because the movie is so, and I think all of you alluded to this. It's very anti-human. The problem of this alien invasion
is alien.
Yeah, it's so big and so not rooted in emotion. To have this moment where, he says all these really embarrassing things in front of everybody, and yet, it's kind of this sweet moment, and Love and Wonder Woman's like, that was beautiful. I thought, shouldn't the whole movie be moments like that? Shouldn't any superhero movie be made of moments like that?
DC is anti-fun.
Yeah, no. Anybody else?
Like I said, there were parts of this movie that I really liked. And I think for me, the one that stands out the most and is the clearest argument in favor of Ben Affleck staying on as Batman is save one person.
Save one person?
Yes. I mean,
it sounds
sorry,
better.
that was more Bale. I apologize.
It's for me. It's if you're gonna lean into this idea of it takes advantage of the idea of Batman being older. The only reason they made Batman being an old man in Batman v Superman is because they wanted to reference Dark Knight Returns,
right?
And Ben Affleck wanted to be Batman, and I honestly feel kind of bad about him because he got his dream and it just turned to shit. But if you're gonna lean into it, lean into the idea of him acting as a mentor to these people, and you look. And again, if Flash is the young newbie, you lean into that, and they play with this idea, and it's him. It's save one person. After that, you'll know what to do, and it's not explicitly stated, but it's just you got this, kid, yeah. And it's a very genuine moment, and I really liked it, and I would like to see more like that. I would like to see Batman not being standoffish and angry and drinking all the time. I want to see him playing mentor to these people. My favorite Batman series is still Batman the Brave and the Bold. And the reason that works is because it doesn't lean on Batman as the angry, violent loner. It leans on him as he's the guy who's been around forever. He's seen it all. He doesn't have any powers, but he knows all this stuff. And he's going to impart that wisdom to people. He's not going to brood alone in his cave the whole time. He's going to be a mentor. I want to see that. I want to see Batman as training people, as being kind of the Papa Bear of this universe. So that scene, I really loved it, and I really would like to see more like that.
I think that's great, and I think
that was definitely a Whedon scene.
Sure,
that was not Snyder.
Well, and what you're saying is a reminder that real, genuine heroism is actually very rare in most superhero movies. There aren't that many, genuinely noble and selfless moments that can be moving like that. And you're right. I mean, that's one of them. Hanna, what about you?
Not to start out on kind of a snarky note, but
I love it.
I liked the runtime for these movies, I liked that it wasn't 3 hours.
Yes.
They insisted upon that, and it was necessary because if I was there one more moment, I would have not been okay.
It's always good to limit the pain.
Yeah, exactly. I loved the trailers ahead of time. Seeing the Black Panther trailer was amazing. And I did love Cyborg, like we talked about. And I think all of you have done a really good job of kind of explaining why I loved Cyborg. And then I loved the potential of the Flash. Like, I felt like everything kind of fell off. And I like the idea of, to me, it's hard because it wasn't done well, but there's a nostalgia in me that loves, Superman and the Flash racing.
I did like that little mid-credit stinger.
Gosh, I can't believe I listed the runtime and then the end credits.
No, you also listed the previews before the movie.
Anything at the very beginning or the very end.
Anything isn't the actual
before
movie.
it started and once it was all over, is what you've said. Oh, and Cyborg.
The 2 hours in the middle.
I loved that, and I felt like in that little moment, they were able to, for a second, it got real quiet in here, they were able to, for a second, capture kind of the nostalgia of the comic books, because I remember that so much. So I liked those, and I liked looking at Aquaman.
Who didn't?
I can see that.
And, I mean...
He looks good in the tank top.
I was going to say the tank top.
He looks good out of the tank top.
Yeah,
right?
he even looked good in the armor, too.
Yeah, I liked looking at him, and I was just in Iceland, so I was like, that's kind of cool. But I can't really say much else. There's a part of me that, as a woman who loves comics and has always loved comics and has grown up watching female comic book characters get the shaft, there was a part of me that was just dying during this movie of watching this Wonder Woman character be done so badly that I think that kind of colored maybe the areas that I might have seen glimmers that I liked. But I was just like, really? She just spent 100 years crying about some guy? This is not okay with me. And so I think that's the 12-year-old me that needed Wonder Woman to at least be kind of cool, and now I'm just yeah, no, we're cool, we're done. And so I love that nostalgic moment of them racing, and that was the most life I saw from Superman.
Yeah.
I was like that. There was a spark in his eye. He wasn't shark eyes. Dead.
Well, it was
I like
them
this brunch
going
joke.
back and forth. Yeah, the brunch joke. I was well, that is just hitting below.
I don't even really understand brunch either, but that's a whole other podcast.
No, I love that his description of brunch.
It's breakfast food that's slightly later. What's there to not get?
Well, that's you have to wait an hour for too. That was oh wow, he slammed brunch culture. So what we described was the set, the tender moments, the beginning, the previews, the mid-credits scene, and Cyborg.
Not a lot of the actual meat of the story.
Nope, none of that.
I think it's kind of funny that Steppenwolf went out like a bitch.
Oh, I know, right?
The movie is so forgettable. I don't even remember how he died.
His bug people attacked him.
Oh,
because he finally got scared. I'm like, wait, you're telling me this man has never been afraid of anything in front of these?
No,
bug
he
things
doesn't
his
have
entire-
emotions.
Oh my! I was like,
And
wait,
then-
he could have
no,
been
and
taken
then-
down by his own army the entire time.
But then the fact that a Ubuntu just comes in and if you know DC Comics lore, it's just someone was on the other side of that teleport, just being you fucked up. Now you're gonna come home and you're gonna get a whooping.
I know. I was wondering who's the Scotty beaming up Steppenwolf.
It's
for this
it's
scenario?
Granny
Yeah, that
Goodness on
was
the other side with a wooden spoon, just being all you know what you gotta do.
Oy, oy.
So you gotta knock some sense of that boy.
So my next question is we're about into award season. We're about to breach that subject. It's just that time, which for once I will just say this is the year I'm so excited that award seasons is here, and not just because I've actually had a good year up until now. I'm actually ready to see what's coming. I saw a trailer for the Greatest Showman.
Oh.
And I get why everyone's excited now. I didn't watch the trailer, but I saw that one. It looked cool. But again, like the preview before the movie. But what I've heard is that Warner Brothers is actually currently about to really step up an awards campaign for Wonder Woman. Whether or not it actually needs it, I was like,
It's not going to get anything.
I know, but they're going to try, which I will say, good for them. I guess
think that's actually kind of a common practice with blockbusters that we'll do an awards campaign for
Well,
it.
once they have a good one, ever since Dark Knight, got shafted. They're like, I think it's now like okay to at least suggest something like that. But part of that conversation is Gal Gadot's performance. They are preparing a campaign for Best Actress for Wonder Woman. Do you think this movie could ruin any of those chances? Like, all the goodwill that Wonder Woman brought, do you think this movie has kind of sullied it? Like, it at least, like, before we could have had a conversation, but now I'm just like, no, I don't want to.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I think, as you say, an awards campaign that's ramping up, it's already begun. And, I love Wonder Woman. It's definitely going to be in my top 10 when I make my One Critic Healthy Orange Awards. I'm definitely going to nominate it for Best Picture and a slew of other awards. That being said, I mean, and not because of the movie, just because of the politics of the Oscars, it never had a shot to begin with. I hate to say it, but that's just the fact. I mean,
no, I agree.
I saw Darkest Hour, the Winston Churchill biopic, the other day. It is fussy. It is fancy. It is boring. It has a showboating lead performance with a ton of weight gain and a ton of ridiculous makeup. It's tidy and unimaginative, and that's what the Oscars want. Look, I mean, let's be honest. It is very rare that a truly bold, powerful, aesthetically and narratively interesting movie, gets nominated for Best Picture, let alone wins. I mean, films like Moonlight, that's the exception. That's the exception. That is not the rule. Yes, yeah. I mean, look what happened to Mad Max. It's like they were never going to give it to Mad Max over Spotlight, even though in years people are going to say that was obvious. It should have gone to Mad Max.
Okay, well then how about this? I mean, obviously, superhero flair does not get any kind of credit, even when it deserves it. But what I guess I'm ultimately saying is we got some goodwill with Wonder Woman. Does Justice League sully that?
So I
guess Hanna would have a better answer. You loved Wonder Woman.
I did.
Does this movie kind of ruin that or tarnish it?
I don't think it does. I think what it does say is don't give the wrong people power over Wonder Woman because they will ruin her.
Yeah.
Which has been true for history.
Yeah, definitely.
Always been true.
But I think that, not as many people are going to see this movie, and that the box office numbers are showing that. And I could see, people in the Academy going and seeing Wonder Woman because Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot were but I don't see, a ton of people kind of going and judging Wonder Woman on this. I think that I think it causes damage for the fact that, like, this is the one DC female there is, and all the little girls going have to watch this horrible, like, crying over a guy for a century lady. But I don't think as far as, her acclaim or how Wonder Woman 2 will be perceived, I don't think it will affect that. I hope. Maybe that's naive, but...
No, I think you have hopes.
I mean, maybe, my instinct, I have to admit, was that this movie would hurt Wonder Woman. But then again, listening to what you're saying, Hanna, I almost wonder if it will help. Because I gotta say,
it looks a lot better by comparison.
Well, yeah, I love Wonder Woman already. I appreciate it even more seeing what the alternative is. Oh my gosh.
I think that this really did show, like, hey guys, Patty Jenkins, like, hey guys, there's talent. And I think that the juxtaposition, I don't know if this movie would have done so bad had Wonder Woman not come out. Because if this was still on the trajectory of the other few, I think that, people would have just kept going, but now they've seen what a DC movie should look like, and DC's not responding. Like, this is what it should look like, and that's not, a Batman movie shouldn't, like, look like that. Like, I don't mean, like, the tone or, how they should portray it, but they're seeing this is the quality that you guys should be at of directing and acting and writing. Just the writing alone.
Writing alone.
Compared to the Justice League is atrocious. Like, I still, like, in my head, I'm like, when it begins and that kid is doing the video phone of like
Superman.
#Supermouth and like asking him questions that he doesn't even answer, like the
That
writing
was so
alone,
awkward. It was
awkward.
it was uncomfortable to
It
watch.
was. There was
Oh, good.
secondhand embarrassment.
I was
just like, oh.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one. I watched that. I was like, oh, we're creating fake deepness. Like it was like this is like he's thinking about the answer.
They spend like 2 movies establishing like Superman is a super controversial figure and people feel weird about him, and is he a god, is he a man, what do we know about him, and then they kill him off and it's like no one gave a damn, and now they have to bring him back. And it's like, oh, let's pretend like people loved Superman all along and are sad that he's gone now. And now let's have like racist people attacking street vendors in London in slow motion.
Which was so hackneyed, like just this awful attempt, like, look, we're relevant, we're in tune with what's happening in the world. No, you're not. You know, you're in a bubble, you know, where you don't know how to do anything.
I will say that like it's while we're on the. Well, circling back to the subject of positivity, there was legit poignancy in seeing like a for sale sign in front of Kent Farm.
Sure.
That worked for me. It is undone by the time we get to the end. It's like, oh, Batman has all the money and he fixed it.
No, well, yes, exactly. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was like Lois Lane. No one stepped in and helped his mom. I was like Lois Lane, like Bruce Wayne, like it took her losing her entire house, moving out, Superman coming back for Bruce Wayne to be like, oh sure, I'll buy your house. I owe you for killing you. Like,
Which is so weird because apparently he's felt guilty the entire time. You thought he would have like paid off that debt immediately. Like, I'm so sorry for murdering your son. Here's the least you don't have to worry about paying the bank anymore.
He couldn't talk to her. Her name is Martha.
Oh, that's true. That's really hard to
and
talk
after
to
all
her.
that, why did you say that name?
it was the craziest thing, and I was just like, I mean, I think Lois Lane could have helped her. Like, Lois Lane makes
She's
that
a Pulitzer
journalist.
Prize-winning journalist.
Yeah,
but
at
she
least
hasn't-
I am a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist.
Apparently, she can't do anything without Superman because she did.
She was depressed. No, she was
She
too
just
depressed.
falls
It wasn't
apart.
strong Superman.
And wrote
And
puff pieces.
Margot Kidders. I was
will
just
say-
like,
I got
no.
it. I got it. Like, she's depressed. Maybe she doesn't want to take on hard-hitting stuff. But also, I was like, where the hell is Diane Lane gonna live? She just took a U-Haul and her dog, and now she's in Metropolis. Who is she staying with? Lois Lane? Like, Lois Lane was like, oh, please come stay with me, but sorry, I didn't help out at all. We were both dealing with some things. Oh, plus you were dealing with a foreclosure, I guess. Like, no, like,
I was also like hardcore, and this is so weird, but I was judging Superman / Clark Kent. I was like, come on, man, like, you didn't have a plan? Like, if you died, you didn't have an account for her? Like,
Did you
come
have a will
on.
made up?
Yeah.
What?
A will?
Yeah, it was like, you're just going to live forever, so you just assume that, you know,
It's gonna be fine.
she's cool. Like, I was like, there's no, like, fallback plan on any of this.
Well, I also have to say, I love that they just, like, to show you how bad the world is, you have, like, some white people yelling at, like a Muslim shop owner who's also a woman. It's like, I'm like, I was watching that, I was like, this isn't because Superman's dead. I'm like, I'm pretty sure those assholes would still be there. And I was like, what? Like, even if Superman was alive, what was he gonna do? Swoop in and be like, cut it out, you two, get out of here! Like, beat them up for harassing
But
a
you-
woman.
you
Like,
don't get it.
Superman had bigger things to do.
Superman being alive undid colonialism. Obviously.
I just have to poke fun at one more thing.
Please do.
That whole bank robbery scene where Roose Bolton, of all people, comes in and says, "Time to return to an age of holy fear." It's like, what laziness trying to, make, the disposable bank robbers, they have some ideology that's
I know,
actually very deep.
I was like, they're here. Like, that guy was also. What was his point? Just to blow up the building and cause terror.
So
even even terrorists have a reason for doing what they be like. They're like, there's a point to this. This guy was just like, I'm gonna blow shit up. Why?
So he was holding hostages, but he was blowing the. I can't figure. I don't know.
None of it worked.
Well, and that scene specifically, there's 2 scenes that people have been writing a lot about, and one is that scene and the fact that Wonder Woman appeared, like, there was, like, a lot of discrepancies in this movie. Like, Wonder Woman appears to move as fast as the Flash in that scene when she's running across and protecting him.
Oh, right.
So people were really upset because they were like, and then that never happens again. And then Cyborg suddenly can't control his, but that's never addressed.
Yeah,
or
they never
explained.
follow up on that.
Like there were all these
Once.
moments where they're like, well, we'll just make this superhero do whatever we want to affect the scene, but really later, only the Flash and Superman can go that fast. And this will never have an issue with Cyborg.
Actually, I did like that one part where the Flash finally, like, that look on his face of, oh shit, someone can actually move as fast as me. Like, that was pretty good.
Too, but Wonder Woman just had that for a scene.
Yeah.
There's also like the moment they brought up where it's like, oh, I think this was just bad storytelling, but it's like it implies that like the mother boxes started activating when Superman died, and that's what caused Cyborg to get all cyborgy, even though he was Cyborg before in Batman v Superman when we saw the teaser for the Cyborg spin-off.
The quote-unquote logic of it all just...
I think that was like... No, he was already Cyborg. I don't know. That felt like a plot hole that was just not well explained by the movie. Like, there was an answer to that. They just did not explain it well.
Yeah.
You mean of Cyborg?
Yeah.
I agree. And I hope that if they're not going to change, like, Jesse Eisenberg, and they're not going to change, like, I want a standalone Cyborg movie. I want them to trust that character,
I would
trust
see
that
that in another
actor.
Superman.
The problem is that Cyborg doesn't have a lot of like iconic villains, so you gotta come up with some.
Well, they
of them
didn't
to
even
fight.
use an iconic villain for this. They used Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Like,
But Steppenwolf is a teaser for an iconic villain,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that works.
Well, then it's all fine.
Also, what's with the Flash? It seems like his weakness is tripping.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, other than that, the fact that he's like, I don't really know how to fight or do battle, he seems to trip, like, a lot. Like, as much as I do, but I'm really clumsy. Am I just supposed to believe that the Flash is clumsy? Also, when he trips and kind of, like, stumbles, shouldn't most of his bones break based on how fast he's moving? Like, I'm surprised he doesn't, like, he trips, he rolls into a wall, and he's
Well,
like,
now you're
oh,
getting into
that was
the
bad.
signs of the Speed Force.
Oh.
That's a whole other can of worms.
Oh my goodness. I was like, shouldn't he, like, splat when he hits that wall?
but what does it say about this movie? And I mean, we've covered the areas we don't like it, but what does it say about this movie that we're not talking, like, we're literally just talking about the mechanics, like the basics.
Is there so little going on in the movie?
Yeah, exactly. We're just talking about all of the little things that don't make sense. Like, there's nothing for us to talk about, really with, like, the big message or the deepness or the, like, because it was so bad that we're really just, so why did this not? Like, why'd they do this? Why'd they do this? That says so much about the quality of the movie.
You have a real problem with the movie when I'm sitting there watching it going, why are there wrinkles like crow's feet on the bat mask? Is it to prove that he has aged and his mask must also, like, just so you know, I'm also older. Like what was the point?
Well,
like the wrinkles are like...
There were eyebrows on the Adam West cowls, so
That's
what was up with
true.
that?
That's
there
true.
were nipples on Joel Schumacher's. But I mean, again, I was just like, out of all the choices, like, everything was very normal, but you gave the bat mask crow's feet?
Well, and I was staring at his eyes, and he put, like, a ton of black makeup on his eyes.
I noticed that. I
What?
couldn't take my
We
eyes
should
off
not
of that.
have noticed that, though. The fact that two people who saw it separately both noticed
actually,
Ben
I noticed it
Affleck's
too,
eyelid.
but I noticed that too, but that's just like superhero thing. Like that's,
Yeah, I noticed
that's the scene in Kick-Ass where Nicolas Cage puts on the black makeup.
No,
And it's
actually,
just
that was
like-
what I was thinking of when I saw it. I was like, black makeup on the eyes. I was like, I guess that does make sense. I remember that in Kick-Ass, like, you gotta black out the eyelids, I guess.
because
But
it looks visually consistent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it would look weird if all of a sudden every time you blinked it was just like a flesh blob on your mask, I guess.
But that's the kind of comic booky nonsense that I kind of live for. It's just like, yeah, it's kind of silly that we do this, but like it looks cool, and Batman wants to look cool. There's that childish part of him that's like, I'm gonna dress up like a bat, and I'm gonna make it look like as cool as it can be.
Oh, that was my favorite part of the movie. I've decided. Okay,
Go
you
for it.
asked me to find something good. It was Aquaman making fun of Batman
that
and
was
being
good.
a bat.
That
That
was
was it.
good.
I found it. I found my shining moment that wasn't before or after the movie.
That was
I'm there
actually
for
in the
that.
movie.
That was hilarious, and I was so happy about that. Because, I mean, I wish they were meaner to him, like really made fun of him.
There's a lot more they could have
He was
said.
mean
I
enough to
know.
himself.
I did like the part where Ezra Miller was like, she's gonna murder you, and we're gonna be on her side because you're being an asshole. And I was like,
I know.
yeah, actually.
I liked when she pushed him. I was like, just keep beating up on Batman. Superman, you can just do whatever you want. Kill him. I don't
Actually,
care.
that part where Superman has Batman by the throat, and he just kind of tosses him to the side, which you don't see him hit the ground. You just kind of like, huh. But the sound that it makes is the sound of a basket of clothing you dump on your bed. Like it's a bunch of fabric hitting a solid surface. And I was like, that's not the sound Batman should make when he hits the ground, was my first thought. I was like, it shouldn't sound like Doctor Strange's cape like falling off onto the ground, because I'm like, there should have been a thud. Why am I just hearing fabric? There's mostly mass there. Which again, why am I focusing on that in the middle of this movie?
Well, that circles back to what you said, Hanna, and about we're focusing on the mechanics of the movie, and I think that's so fascinating, because you can bet if this movie were as good as say Wonder Woman or the Dark Knight or the Winter Soldier, or one of the really good X-Men films, we would not be having this kind of conversation, and I think that just sums it up. So that brings us to the end. Before we wrap up, do any of you have any final nails you want to slam into the coffin of Justice League and this incarnation of the so-called DCEU?
Go see Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, we're on me.
Oh, sure,
Everyone's
yeah.
staring at me.
That's all.
We can go to Mo.
Any last nails in the coffin?
Or anything
Just
else.
thoughts.
You can say something nice too, but I kind of assumed
I was
that,
like, I don't think Hannah's got enough nice to say here.
I guess I would say if you are a true superhero fan and it hurts you to see Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman kind of tarnished, run. Don't see it. Don't pause. Don't go. It is the most depressing Batman, and not in a cool, dark, depressing way.
Because depression is cool.
Only when it comes to Batman, apparently.
It totally is cool. Christian Bale is totally depressed, and he's cool.
Like brooding on top of the Sears Tower. That's cool.
This is Batman needs to hit an AA meeting and get a new razor. This is rough. So turn around. Go out of the theater. Go see Lady Bird.
Ooh, I haven't seen Lady Bird. Sorry.
I haven't yet.
I'm going to.
I didn't like the scene of him shaving, by the way.
No. Also, I'm sorry.
No, go
I'm
ahead.
just so appalled by Alfred. I mean,
Oh,
I know.
me too. Yeah,
Oh.
I felt he could have been good. There was times where I was like, I kind of wish
You
Alfred.
have
just
Jeremy
Kind of
Irons.
there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Jeremy Irons is he's a go hard or go home kind of actor. It does not seem like he should be Alfred.
But how did they do that? Michael Caine is so brilliant.
Yes.
How did they make Jeremy Irons and J.K. Simmons so useless? Not a part of it.
So underutilized.
Because it speaks to the larger issue of them not caring about the sporting cast.
Yeah, and I think back to the Dark Knight trilogy and how they took the time to develop the story of, Alfred, isn't just the guy serving tea, and he's not just like in these films, like the helper helping with the missions. He's the guy who raises Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He is his moral compass, and to see that all blown to hell, that's sad. Mo, any final nails in the coffin? I guess the Superman coffin from the end of Batman versus Superman,
Which apparently doesn't matter.
With the floating dust that never came up. I guess it's meant to be like a non-diegetic. It was symbolic or something.
Just so you know,
I still have hope. That is the dumbest fucking thing I could say. But
No, it's not dumb. I'm just surprised it's being said. I've given up.
we are still in the post-Wonder Woman world, so I can see how you
it's
say
not
that.
just that, but it's just after I was so defeated after Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. It was just nothing is happening. But this one, they tried. They didn't succeed, but there's some jokiness, there's some humanity, there's some there's an eye towards the future that doesn't make me feel bleak and empty. And it's I want to see what they do with Aquaman. I want to see what James Wan has to say with this character. They've already assembled a really interesting cast for that movie. I want to see what they do with, obviously, Wonder Woman 2. We got to get some explanation, why wasn't she around during World War II? And if the explanation is because she was sad about her dead boyfriend for 100 years and going to throw every table in Portland.
Thank you. Yes.
Mo just walks into a building, sits down, flips the table.
I want to see what they do with Shazam. I kind of want to see if the Batman ever actually exists. I don't know if it'll be good or not, but it's like if that actually gets off the ground, that'll be something. So that's me being like, I don't know if there's good movies left. I'm sure Wonder Woman 2 will be fine, but I don't know outside that sphere if there's anything to be salvaged from it. But I'm kind of interested because they're every movie since Man of Steel is them apologizing for the last one. Because Man of Steel was like, oh, we meant to do the destroying all Metropolis and making it look like 9/11. It was intentional because we were building towards this. And then Suicide Squad is like,
sorry, when the last movie wasn't fun. This can be fun.
We can have fun. We can tell jokey jokes and smile. And then this one is like, we can actually have like human characters with pathos. And we're sorry we killed Superman and it meant nothing. So we'll just reverse it, which will mean even less than the first time. So I feel like it'll take maybe like if we do 10 more of these movies, we'll get a good one. But it's I hope springs eternal when it comes to comic book movies for me. Again, I live and breathe that shit. This is my world. I want to see what comes next, and I have not felt that for the DC EU movies beforehand, but here we are. So yeah,
I will only see a DC movie if Mo is sent to see a DC movie. That's my new rule of thumb.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess, I mean this. I'm so, I love this stuff too. I love superheroes. I love comic books.
It is draining to see it get fucked up so much.
It is, and it's. I always, I've become the cynical, person I always hoped I would never become because of movies, like Man of Steel and like Justice League now, but. I'm not entirely devoid of hope either. I mean, I think the problem with a lot of these movies, with whether it's Man of Steel or Suicide Squad, was going with directors who didn't really have a proven track record. David Ayer was known to be really unreliable before Suicide Squad. Zack Snyder had a lot of flops before Man of Steel. Whereas I agree. I'm sure Wonder Woman 2 will be fine with Patty Jenkins in control and. You have Aquaman and Shazam, James Wan and David Ed Sandberg. They've got a trail of pretty good reviews behind them, so there's a reason to hope. But I would also say, I mean, I've been a little disturbed by some of the online criticism around this movie, and all of us, we all had something in it we liked, but I think we all agreed that like those things, while those things both give us hope but at the same time don't save this particular movie. Yeah. And and I've seen there's a lot of kind of people actually taking the small things that worked and using them to justify why Justice League is actually really great and just no one understands.
No.
And I
like this movie. I cannot possibly defend it.
Sure, yeah. See, I mean, that's I know what you mean, and I think I just say to everyone who watches something like this, like, I mean, you deserve better. You deserve better just because you're a human being who has feelings. The simple.
I heard someone describe it's like Justice League movie is basically a feature-length episode of Justice League Unlimited, the cartoon. That pissed me off so much because that cartoon was fucking astounding, and there was character and humor and life and vibrancy, and it's like no, you don't get to do that. No, fuck you, person who said that.
I feel like these movies are just a bunch of good things that are not executed well. Like, they could be good, which is, I think, was our big resounding idea. That's still the review I give to Batman v Superman, which is, there's a lot of great ideas in there, and none of them are executed right. Like, let's make a movie. It's not executed right. Let's edit the movie. It's not executed right. Here, let's have this idea about drama in it. It's not executed right. Like, the idea is never executed right. I'm like, you could have a toolbox full of tools and a pile of wood. They're all great things, and when you put them all together, you can create something great. That doesn't mean that they did.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's still a bad bitch.
I also, and I mean, I'm obviously just theorizing, but I think that if this was a movie centered, like if this was the Wonder Woman movie, or this was centered around a hero that was a person of color, like a Miles Morales or something really cool and creative like that, no one would say that. No one would be like, pick out the good things. They'd be like, never again. We're never giving money to this character again.
Well,
And
that's
a
what they
proven
did
track
to,
record.
Yeah.
That's what they did to, superhero movies, with women in the lead role for years. Like, Catwoman and Elektra didn't work, it's done,
Yes, I know.
There's a double standard. You're
exactly, there totally is, and don't even get me started on Catwoman. Oh my God!
I don't think we
we don't have time.
I don't think we have time to
I
go
know,
into this.
but-
I think everything
Future commentary.
I
it's,
know.
that movie came out in 2004. That's 13 years ago. Everything that needs to be said about that movie has been said.
I disagree completely.
Okay.
And I think the
Okay.
reason why is because of the double standard. Because
No,
we
that's actually
judged
there, too.
Catwoman, who is the coolest character. Oh my God, again, don't get me started on Eartha Kitt and Julie Newmar and Michelle Pfeiffer and so many things. But,
I even liked Anne Hathaway.
Me too, yes.
Well, not like, okay,
I
how
know
about this?
people who did. I
How
didn't
about this?
hate her.
I think she could be a good Catwoman.
Yeah, I can see that, but I just think that because we judge all these movies so harshly in that way, that there is a lot more to be said because that character is so cool, and we have these amazing characters that are completely just ruined by one bad movie, that more does need to be said because that was rough. I know it's been a long time, I'm still not over that Catwoman.
I can't judge you. I hold a lot of movie grudges
I am
for a long
devastated. I love the anti-hero, the way we're able to, I can't. I'm sorry.
Can't even.
No, I think that's the perfect note to end on. No, because I can't even with Justice League either.
I simply
so-
can't.
I'm tired, man.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, and for heaven's sakes, why wouldn't you? Please click thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. And I know I always say don't follow us on Twitter. Do follow us on Twitter. I tweet now,
What?
Yes, I'm doing it again.
Start it up,
so,
King.
yeah.
We've entered the 21st century.
Oh, it's about time.
Oh, brave new world that has such wonders in it.
Please check out all the great reviews and content we had at THOmoviereviews.com. And I hear this DCEU thing it stirs people up. So if you want to comment, you should comment. Whether you like what we said, whether you hate it, whether you're somewhere in between. I'm kind of regretting saying this, knowing that, some reviewers got death threats after Batman v Superman. So, maybe
Bring it
play
on.
nice. Okay, all right.
I'm too tired to
we
die.
can take it, right? If you can take it, I can take it.
Oh my God.
Once again, I'm Bennett Campbell Ferguson. I'm here with Shaunette, Hanna McGrath, and Maxwell Meyers, and from all of us here at THO Movie Reviews, happy movie watching.